Hello! In this video, I'll be sharing what I learned from the second iTeach video by English Studio. This video focuses on teaching new lexical items, which means new vocabulary, and how to help students move words from passive memory to active memory. The video begins by explaining the difference between passive and active memory. When students first learn new words, those words go into passive memory. This means they may recognize the words when reading or hearing them, but they cannot easily use them in their own speech because it takes time to recall these words. Active memory, however, is when students can use words quickly, correctly, and naturally in conversations. They know the meaning, the pronunciation, and how to use those words in context. So the main goal of teaching vocabulary is to move words from passive memory into active memory. The first stage of this process is exposure. Students must first encounter the new words either through reading a text, listening to audio, or hearing the teacher. Teachers should plan ahead and know which words will be new based on the student's level. One activity is asking students to read a text and highlight unknown words. An unknown word is not only a word that they do not understand, but also one that they cannot pronounce correctly. So even if they know the words, but they cannot pronounce the words correctly, then those words they classify as unknown words. So even if the meaning is known by them, but the pronunciation is wrong, it needs to be practiced. So it is very important that students learn the exact meaning of words. If their understanding is unclear, the word will remain in passive memory. So they need to understand the word. They need to know what that word means, so it goes into active memory. Teachers can also introduce vocabulary using flashcards or small slips of paper like this. Students read those words, they translate them, and they interact with the new words. These methods are very effective because they involve multiple senses such as seeing, touching, and speaking, which improves retention. Another method is writing words on the board, but they should be introduced one by one, not all at once, to avoid overwhelming the students or the student. The next stage is recording the words in a vocabulary notebook. Writing helps reinforce memory, and students should write neatly and accurately, and teachers should also include transcription and make sure students copy it correctly, especially at beginner levels. After writing, students should practice saying the words multiple times through activities like oral repetition, where the teacher says the word and the group repeats it. To make lessons more engaging, the teachers can use interactive activities like throwing an object to students, and the student repeats the word and throws it back, which keeps them focused and active, like maybe a ball or something. Teachers should also check individual pronunciation and help the students identify words that are difficult to them by marking them in their notebooks. Also, to reinforce vocabulary, games are very effective. One activity that is very effective is using paper slips, where students draw a word, read it, and translate it. If they do it correctly, they keep the slip as a point, and this motivates participation and can be used in every lesson, and then gradually adding more words for revision. By later lessons, this game game helps students review vocabulary from previous lessons, and students are motivated to learn because they know they will be tested through games. Okay, so that is why games are very effective in learning new vocabulary. For higher level students, this can be extended by asking them to explain words in English instead of translating them. Another effective activity is the taboo game, where students describe a word without saying it while others guess. This helps develop speaking and explanation skills. And after these activities, students have repeated and used the words many times, which is very essential for moving them from passive memory into active memory. Hearing words is never enough. Students must pronounce and use them in sentences. The next important stage is context. Students must understand how words are used in sentences or texts. This can be done by reading and translating a text or by giving students sentences to translate. Teachers can also use games to practice sentence translation. The next stage is application. Students should use the words in their own speech. This can be done through answering questions, creating sentences, or telling stories. Using the new vocabulary is very, very, very essential. Homework can also include writing a story or answering questions using the words, which helps reinforce learning. It is very important to give a manageable number of words in each lesson, as giving too many can reduce retention. So we have to take it one word at a time, not too many words. Finally, the video introduces an association game in this activity. Students write personal associations for these words, these new vocabulary. This helps create emotional connections, which significantly improves memory and retention. So after writing their associations, students try to recall the original words based on their notes. This shows how effective associations are in helping memory. Overall, the video emphasizes that teaching vocabulary requires multiple stages, including exposure, repetition, context, and application. The goal is to ensure that students not only recognize words, but can actively use them in communication.